The man was checking out of his motel when he suddenly noticed something next door. A stunning blonde with piercing blue eyes had moved in beside him. The second Jack saw her, he was completely hooked. Thinking about tomorrow's hunting trip with a client, he decided to extend his stay for one more night. Partly for work, but mostly so he could sneak a few more glances at the beautiful stranger. What he didn't know was that the woman next door had her own reasons for getting close to him. That night, bored out of his mind, Jack headed to the bar for an ice-cold beer, hoping to numb the loneliness eating away inside him. But to his surprise, he ran into the blonde girl from earlier again. And from the looks of it, she worked there as a waitress. Naive Jack thought he had just stumbled into romance, never realizing that from the moment he noticed her, he had already stepped into a carefully planned trap. This time, the two still didn't speak. But later that night, while Jack was back in his room cleaning and maintaining his guns for tomorrow's job, shouting suddenly erupted outside his door. A man and woman were arguing loudly, and it sounded like the blonde was in trouble. Without thinking twice, Jack shoved a pistol into his waistband and kicked open the door, instantly jumping into hero mode. The creepy drunk who had been yelling non-stop took one look at Jack's intimidating expression and immediately backed off before disappearing. The next morning, Jack arrived at the agency office to meet his client, only to see his gorgeous neighbor walk in wearing sleek outdoor gear, looking both elegant and tough at the same time. Turns out she was the client he had been waiting for all along. Like they say, when fate decides to show up, there's no stopping it. During the drive, Jack slowly learned more about her. Her name was Kate, and she had come to town for two reasons. First, she wanted to hire a guide to take her hunting in the mountains. Second, she wanted to fulfill her father's dying wish by scattering his ashes across the same hills where he once fought during the war. Kate's gentle personality and soft demeanor slowly chipped away at the walls around Jack's heart. She stayed quiet most of the day, only occasionally making small talk with him, though almost every conversation seemed carefully designed to pull personal information out of Jack. When she found out Jack was single, she didn't say much. She simply looked at him strangely for a brief moment. You might think it was affection. It wasn't. She was calculating. But by then, Jack was already blinded by feelings, and Kate's flawless performance kept him from noticing anything suspicious. Early the next morning, Jack packed up the hunting gear and led Kate deep into the mountains. The forest was dense and completely isolated. As Jack cleared the path ahead, he explained all the survival basics she needed to know. Things like where wild animals usually appeared, where traps might be hidden, and how to navigate through the wilderness. After hiking for about 2 hours, Jack suddenly stopped and quietly told Kate that elk were often spotted nearby. If they moved forward, they'd have to do it slowly and avoid making noise. But just as they approached the woods, Jack suddenly heard a strange sound in the distance, almost like the roar of a crashing airplane. Wanting to make sure it was safe, Jack headed toward the noise first. The farther he walked, the stronger the smell of fuel and blood became. About 5 minutes later, he finally discovered a pilot hanging lifeless from tree branches on a hillside after parachuting from the wreck. Just as he was about to tell Kate, his eyes suddenly locked onto a black suitcase sitting beside the dead pilot. Jack carefully opened it without saying a word and instantly froze. The suitcase was packed solid with cash, neatly stacked bundle after bundle. At a quick glance, there had to be at least $100 million inside. Jack's eyes lit up immediately. He had never seen that much money in his entire life, and at that moment, it felt like a lifeline dropped from heaven. With money like this, he could quit his miserable job, marry Kate, and finally live a carefree life. So without hesitation, he packed up the suitcase and took it with him. When Kate heard about the money, she pretended to look shocked too, but there wasn't a trace of surprise in her eyes. Instead, a flash of greed slipped through. She hid it well though, and Jack never noticed. In reality, Kate had known about the plane from the very beginning, and she already knew the suitcase contained $100 million. Hiring Jack to scatter her father's ashes was just an excuse. Her real goal was to use him as a free bodyguard, letting him protect her from her own partners so she could eventually keep all the money for herself. Just as Jack was lost in the excitement of becoming rich overnight, Kate's crew finally caught up to them. These people were real killers. Pretending to be hunters, they carried top-tier gear, thermal scanners, drones, sniper rifles, every piece of equipment built for one thing: killing. Jack may have been out of combat for years, but as a former Marine, his instincts and muscle memory were still there. He fought while retreating through the forest, using the terrain to outmaneuver the attackers while protecting Kate at the same time. Meanwhile, Kate somehow stayed weirdly calm through all of it. Jack was risking his life on the front line while she casually ran around half-dressed like nothing was happening. Worried she'd slow him down, Jack quickly pulled a pair of pants from his backpack and forced her to put them on. Then he checked the suitcase to make sure the money was still there, though the two had completely different concerns. Jack was terrified of losing the cash. As for Kate, all she could think about was how to claim the suitcase for herself. Thanks to his sharp shooting skills and combat experience, Jack fought off wave after wave of enemies. Between dodging pursuers and protecting Kate, the pressure on him was enormous. Then came one of the movie's craziest scenes. While moving through the forest, Kate accidentally sliced her thigh on a tree branch, and blood immediately started running down her leg. With no other choice, Jack frantically bandaged the wound for her. Not long after, wanting to protect the fortune they had nearly died for, Jack and Kate decided to hide the suitcase inside a hollow dead tree. They used a rope to suspend it inside the trunk so nobody passing by would spot it, while also protecting it from the rain. After finishing everything, the two helped each other out of the forest and planned to hitch a ride into a small town about 4 kilometers away, hoping to lay low until things calmed down before returning for the money later. The driver pretended to help them at first, but the moment Jack let his guard down, the man attacked him from behind. It turned out to be another trap set by the gang. After capturing both of them, the leader dragged Jack into a dark room and prepared to torture him for the location of the money. Usually in movies, villains die because they talk too much, and this old man was no exception. Jack pretended to be weak, tricking the leader into getting close. Using lockpicking skills he had learned in the military, he easily slipped free from the chains. Then he struck without hesitation and sent the boss straight to the afterlife. Honestly, even I had never seen someone die quite like that before. After escaping the room, Jack grabbed an iron pipe and immediately started searching for Kate. At the same time, 2 of the gang leader's men arrived outside. Time was running out, and Jack couldn't afford to waste a second. He rushed to the deepest room inside the warehouse and finally freed Kate from her restraints. Even though it was technically 2 versus 2, Jack had no gun, putting him at a massive disadvantage. Jack's fight with the big guy was brutal. Basically nothing but raw punches landing hard from start to finish. Kate's side was a little more chaotic. She used the walls to stay hidden, disarmed the female attacker at the right moment, and immediately jumped into close quarters combat. The fight was insanely intense. In less than 10 seconds, Kate's mouth was already covered in blood, making the whole scene painful to watch. Jack wasn't doing much better either. Because of the size difference, he spent most of the fight pinned underneath the larger man, getting beaten relentlessly. If this kept going, he was finished. Luckily, help finally arrived at the critical moment. And this is where the movie quietly drops an easy-to-miss clue. Even though Kate looked awkward holding a gun, the angle of her trigger finger and the firmness of her grip revealed one thing clearly. She was definitely not a beginner. But Jack had just been rescued and never thought twice about it. After spending days together, he already trusted Kate completely. Even now, Jack still believed that if they killed the remaining gang members, he and Kate could finally escape with the money and live happily ever after. But was that ever really going to happen? At the end of the movie, the two returned to the dead tree and successfully recovered the $100 million. While Jack lowered his head to inspect the suitcase, Kate suddenly pulled out a wooden box from her bag, claiming it contained her father's ashes. But when she opened it, there was actually a modified miniature pistol hidden inside. Before Jack could even react, Kate pulled the trigger. Only in his final moments did Jack finally learn the full truth. Kate chose him because she needed his skills. Only with Jack's help could she eliminate the rest of her crew and walk away with the dirty money all for herself.